The night sky split open without warning. A streak of light, sharp and brilliant as a tear in reality itself, tore across the quiet skies above the New Haven research colony. The security teams on the perimeter thought it was a meteor at first, until the light slowed, rippling like liquid, and expanded into a shimmering oval of energy. It hung in the air, pulsing, humming softly like a living thing. The few witnesses frozen on the landing platform could only stare, hearts thundering, as the glow intensified, forming a perfect gateway between here and somewhere else, somewhere cold, alien, and impossibly far away. Then, without sound or warning, a figure stepped through. She looked human. More than that, she looked unchanged. Pale skin streaked with dust, hair matted from long travel, and eyes wide with exhaustion, but beneath the grime, there was something impossible about her appearance. Cameras zoomed in immediately, confirming what no one wanted to believe. 32 years ago, Commander Evelyn Cross had disappeared with her crew during the Omega Horizon mission, a pioneering attempt to cross interstellar space using experimental jump drive technology. Her ship had vanished without a trace, presumed destroyed in deep void. Yet here she was, barefoot, clutching something to her chest as if afraid to let go. Not something. Someone. A child. The boy was no older than 6, wrapped in a strange material like silk woven from light. His skin shimmered faintly, not like a reflection, but as though tiny threads of silver moved beneath the surface. His eyes were closed, yet they twitched with strange motion, as if he were dreaming of things no human could understand. Evelyn staggered forward onto the platform, legs trembling with every step, her boots scraping against the steel until she dropped to her knees. Security guards rushed forward, weapons half-raised, unsure whether to help or aim. One of them shouted, "Identify yourself." Evelyn raised her head slowly, her lips trembling, her face pale as if the weight of years, or centuries, hung on her shoulders. But when she spoke, her voice was hoarse, broken, barely above a whisper. "Adrian." Just one word. A name. A human name. Then she collapsed. The child remained silent, eyes fluttering open for just a fraction of a second, revealing irises of shifting silver and pale blue, like liquid metal rippling over water. He looked at no one in particular. Yet every piece of electronic equipment on the platform, radios, HUD displays, drones, flickered at that exact moment, screens flashing static before returning to normal. By the time medics rushed forward, the shimmering portal had already collapsed in on itself with a low, almost mournful hum, leaving only faint streaks of light on the concrete. Scientists on site scrambled to capture energy readings, but half their sensors had shorted out during the event. The other half showed data that defied known physics. Evelyn was placed on a stretcher, her vitals fluctuating wildly, heart rate spiking, blood chemistry showing anomalies no doctor had seen before. The child was taken separately, surrounded by biohazard specialists and armed guards, though neither group seemed comfortable going near him. He didn't cry, didn't speak, only sat up on the gurney and stared, wide-eyed, at the world around him, his gaze lingering on lights, screens, and reflections like he could see more than what was there. The news spread across the colony within minutes, then Earth within the hour. Evelyn Cross had returned from the dead. But she brought back something far stranger. In the medical bay, under heavy security, Evelyn finally stirred. Her breathing hitched, and her eyes fluttered open, scanning the sterile white ceiling above her as if it didn't belong to the world she remembered. She turned her head sharply, panicked, searching for something. The guards tensed, hands on their weapons. "The boy," she rasped. "Where is he?" The lead officer exchanged a wary glance with the doctor before answering. "He's safe. For now." "But he isn't, Commander. What happened out there?" Evelyn stared at him with hollow eyes, as though she had seen things no human mind should hold. Her lips parted, trembling not with fear, but with the weight of secrets she wasn't sure she should tell. "He isn't mine," she said finally, her voice low, almost breaking. "But they sent him back with me. And he knows." She trailed off, staring into empty space as a shiver passed through her. "He knows what's coming." Alarms shrieked suddenly. Lights flickered overhead. In the adjacent containment chamber, the child had placed his small hand against the transparent barrier. His silver blue eyes glowed faintly, pulsing with the same rhythm as the warning lights. And though his lips didn't move, a whisper rolled through every speaker, every headset, every piece of audio equipment in the facility. One word. Adrian. The same name Evelyn had spoken. And at that moment, every deep space satellite orbiting beyond Mars registered a signal, faint, alien, and impossibly distant, echoing back. The sterile chamber was silent, save for the faint hum of machines and the steady rhythm of the child's breathing. He sat on a padded bench, his small legs dangling, his silver-blue eyes fixed on the glass wall that separated him from the soldiers and scientists outside. He didn't fidget. He didn't cry. He didn't even blink as often as a normal human child would. He simply watched, as though studying the people beyond the glass, not with fear, but with calm curiosity, like an observer who already understood far more than they did. Commander Evelyn Cross sat in a separate room, hooked up to medical scanners that mapped her vitals in real time. Her body was here, but her mind seemed lost elsewhere, trapped in fragments of memory she struggled to piece together. She had not aged a single day since she vanished 3 decades ago. Doctors confirmed it. Genetic tests showed no cellular decay, no signs of time's passage at all. But the anomalies didn't stop there. The child who had arrived with her wasn't fully human. His DNA showed a sequence never before catalogued, not on Earth, not in any alien archives humanity had collected through decades of scattered first-contact events. Half of his genetic code matched human patterns. The other half was something else. Something no database could classify. Scientists argued for hours over the findings. Some claimed he was proof of advanced alien biotechnology. Others insisted he was a hybrid, an impossible fusion of human and extraterrestrial life. A few, more cautious, feared he might be something else entirely, a living key, a biological device with a purpose far beyond comprehension. As arguments raged, the child finally moved. He placed his hand flat on the glass, fingers spread wide. The motion was so simple, so innocent, yet the lights in the room flickered, monitors glitched, and the heartbeat of the entire facility seemed to stutter for one brief second. The scientists froze. One of the guards gripped his rifle tighter. Then the child spoke. Not in English. Not in any language Earth had catalogued. His voice was soft, melodic, but carried an alien resonance that vibrated through the glass, through the walls, through the bones of everyone who heard it. Instantly, one of the holographic displays on the far wall blinked to life, despite being powered down, and projected a rotating spiral of light. No one had activated it. No one understood how it was even running without a power source. Evelyn, watching the live feed from her room, felt her chest tighten. She had seen that spiral before. In dreams? No. In memories. Memories of a place that wasn't Earth. A place where stars burned green and gold, and voices spoke in echoes across crystal halls. A place where she had walked, but not as herself. She had worn a different body there. A body shaped for survival in a world not meant for human lungs or human skin. The child turned his head, tilting it slightly as though listening to something beyond the room, beyond the facility. And then, without opening his mouth, his voice rang through the intercom system. Adrian. The same word he had spoken before. But this time, his silver-blue eyes flared brighter and the spiral of light on the holographic display shifted, reshaping into a map of stars, connected by glowing lines. Dr. Kessler, the lead astrophysicist, stepped closer, his eyes wide. That's not random. It's a star chart. But these aren't Earth constellations. He turned sharply to the technicians nearby. Run a comparison against deep-field observations. Every telescope we have. Now. One of the younger scientists swallowed hard, staring at the projection. What if it's not a chart of stars? Kessler frowned. Then what is it? The young man hesitated, his voice barely above a whisper. A map of where they are. Whoever, or whatever, sent him. Evelyn sat upright in her hospital bed, her fingers curling into fists as fragments of memory surfaced. Alien corridors, towering crystalline spires, beings with luminous eyes whispering words she could almost recall but not yet translate. And always, the child was there. Watching. Waiting. Not hers. Not human. But bound to her somehow. Before she could speak, alarms blared through the facility. The lights shifted to a pulsing red. Someone had triggered a proximity alert. A military officer stormed into the observation deck, his voice sharp and urgent. "We've got movement in orbit unidentified. And it's not debris." Everyone turned back to the projection in the child's chamber. The spiral had stopped shifting. Now it pulsed like a heartbeat, each flare brighter than the last, synchronized with the growing intensity of the orbital readings. The child finally lowered his hand from the glass. Slowly, deliberately, he turned to face the surveillance camera, locking eyes with whoever was watching. His lips moved this time. Only 2 words came out, spoken clearly, softly, yet with the weight of a warning. "They are coming." And then, as if the declaration itself had drained him, he collapsed onto the bench, unconscious. The holographic star map faded instantly, leaving only the sterile white light of the room. Evelyn whispered to herself, gripping the side of her bed, her voice trembling. "It's starting again, isn't it?" But deep down, she already knew the answer. Under the sterile lights of the medical wing, Evelyn sat upright, staring into the darkened observation glass as though answers might emerge from its reflection. The child was asleep again, but the soft hum of hidden energy pulsed faintly around him, like a heartbeat beyond nature. Her own thoughts were no less turbulent, fragments of memory scraping the edge of her consciousness, teasing her with glimpses of somewhere else. Somewhere far from Earth, yet vividly real. She closed her eyes, gripping the blanket around her shoulders. The smell of metal and ozone filled her mind. A hall of crystal pillars. A sky burning green. Voices, not human, speaking in harmonics that vibrated through her bones. They had called her by a name, not Evelyn, but something alien, something melodic and strange. She remembered walking through a city of light, her body no longer human, but reshaped to match the beings who moved like living streams of energy. A sharp tone from the monitor snapped her back. Dr. Kessler stood by the door, a tablet in his hands, watching her closely. "You're remembering something, aren't you?" His voice was careful, not probing, but almost pleading. Evelyn hesitated. "Not enough. Just pieces. Tell me what you can." She took a deep breath. There was a world. It wasn't Earth. The colors, the sky, everything was wrong. And yet, it felt alive, like the planet itself was breathing. She faltered, struggling for words. They didn't just speak. They resonated. Their voices carried meaning beyond language. "They changed me." Kessler exchanged a tense look with another scientist through the glass before leaning closer. "Changed you, how?" Her hand trembled as she raised it, staring at her own skin. "I wasn't human there. My body, it was like theirs. Adapted. And when I woke up back here," she shook her head. "It was gone. Like it never happened." Kessler's eyes widened. Dimensional molecular restructuring. He muttered under his breath, tapping frantically at his tablet. Before Evelyn could ask, the door to the observation wing hissed open and Colonel Hayes entered, flanked by 2 armed guards. His face was carved in stone, his tone sharp. "Doctor, I hope you're not wasting time with stories. We have a situation to contain." Kessler bristled. "Colonel, with respect, this is not a situation we can contain. That child activated alien technology without touching it. Without knowing it. We're standing on the edge of something monumental, possibly a first-tier contact event." Hayes shot him a glare before turning to Evelyn. "And you, where have you been for the last 30 years? Who sent you back? And why?" She swallowed hard. "I don't know. Not yet. But I think," she looked toward the chamber where the child rested, faint lights flickering across the glass like distant stars. "I think he's the reason." As if in response, the child stirred. Slowly, his head lifted, eyes glowing faintly once more. He rose from the bench and pressed both hands against the glass, staring directly at Evelyn even though there was no possible way he could see her through the mirrored barrier. Her heart raced. Images crashed into her mind, cities of silver arches, towers floating above oceans of light, and beings of shimmering forms circling a vast dais carved from crystal. A council, watching her. Judging her. One voice louder than the rest, "She will guide the threshold. The child must carry the key." Her breath caught. She saw the child standing beside her, older now, but still radiating that same alien aura. He held a crystal sphere, pulsing with starlight, and beyond them, an immense gateway, arched and shimmering, opened into the void. The vision shattered. She was back in the medical room, gripping the sheets like a lifeline. The child collapsed again, unconscious, his body shivering as though the vision had drained him too. Dr. Kessler was already calling out readings, but Evelyn ignored him. She whispered the words she had heard in that memory, almost afraid of saying them aloud. The threshold, the key. Hayes frowned. What does that mean? Evelyn shook her head slowly. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not finished. Something, someone, is coming. As if on cue, the alarms blared once more, this time louder, sharper. A technician's voice crackled through the intercom. Unidentified object detected, entering Earth's atmosphere. Fast. Everyone froze. Kessler's eyes snapped to the unconscious child. Hayes gripped his communicator, barking orders to scramble interceptors. But Evelyn, still staring at the boy, felt a cold realization settle into her chest. This wasn't the beginning of something. It was the continuation of something that had started long before she disappeared. And the child wasn't just a messenger. He was the trigger. Rain swept across the landing platform as red alarms pulsed like angry eyes in the night. Evelyn's heart pounded, matching the rhythm of the klaxons as the sky above split with fire. Something fast, deliberate, and impossibly large pierced the upper atmosphere, leaving trails of molten clouds in its wake. Military drones swarmed upward, sleek and armed, but Evelyn knew before the first shot was fired that they wouldn't be enough. Inside the research complex, chaos reigned. Colonel Hayes barked orders into his comm, mobilizing ground units, orbital defenses, and aerial interceptors. Dr. Kessler argued with him, insisting the approaching object might not be hostile yet. Evelyn ignored them both, her eyes fixed on the observation chamber where the child lay. He was awake again, sitting up, calm in a way that felt unnatural for someone so young. His luminous eyes flicked toward her as if calling her forward. Then she heard it, a whisper in her mind. Not words, not exactly, but a pull. A sense of urgency. A single thought, leave. Now. The lights flickered, then died, plunging the facility into darkness. Backup generators struggled to restore power, humming unevenly. Doors sealed, alarms shifted to emergency tones, and the entire base felt like a trap snapping shut. Hayes shouted for security lockdown. Kessler tried to protest. Evelyn didn't wait to hear more. She moved. The corridor outside was a maze of shadows and flashing warning lights. 2 guards rushed past her toward the upper levels, weapons ready, leaving her path momentarily clear. She swiped an access card from an open console, bypassing a security door just as the lockdown fully engaged. Sirens blared louder, now signaling a breach. In the chamber, the child stood waiting for her. He was small, fragile, yet when she looked at him, it was like staring at the eye of a storm. She knelt beside him, whispering, "We have to go. Can you walk?" He nodded once, silent but certain. Evelyn guided him into the corridor just as voices echoed behind them, guards returning. A warning shout rang out. Evelyn sprinted, the boy's small hand gripping hers tightly. The base wasn't designed for escape, every path twisted toward reinforced checkpoints. But the boy seemed to know the way. He tugged her toward unmarked service tunnels, guiding her through narrow maintenance shafts and emergency access hatches she'd never seen before. Somewhere above, the impact came. The entire complex trembled as if struck by a meteor. Lights went out again, completely this time, replaced by the thrum of something alien reverberating through the walls. Evelyn froze for an instant, recognizing the sound from her fractured memories. It wasn't random. It was a signal. The boy whispered his first human word since his arrival, "Closer." Evelyn swallowed her fear and pressed onward. Behind them, shouts and gunfire erupted as soldiers clashed with something. The sound was wrong, metal on metal, but also a screech like tearing glass. Whatever had come through the atmosphere was already here, and it wasn't alone. They emerged into a hangar where research vehicles rested under tarps. Evelyn rushed to the nearest, a small atmospheric transport, praying it wasn't locked down. She slammed her stolen card against the console, lights flickering weakly before settling to green. The craft hissed open. They climbed inside. Evelyn strapped the boy into a harness as the hangar doors began to open unbidden. Not from her command. Something else was overriding controls. A shadow fell across the hangar floor as a massive shape descended, a sleek, obsidian vessel, unlike anything human hands had built. Figures emerged, tall, fluid in motion, cloaked in shimmering armor that seemed to ripple with light. Not soldiers. Hunters. Evelyn slammed the ignition, engines roaring to life. The hunters turned toward the sound, heads cocking unnaturally. One raised an arm, its hand splitting into 3 sharp prongs of glowing energy. Evelyn launched the craft forward. Plasma struck where she'd been a heartbeat earlier, melting steel into liquid fire. She shot through the hangar doors into the stormy night, skimming low across the terrain as the alien ship pivoted to follow. The boy gripped her arm. Not in fear. In guidance. South, he whispered. South where? Threshold. The word sent a chill through her spine. The same word from her visions. The same word spoken by alien voices judging her fate. As the transport darted into the storm, alien craft closed in, sleek predators slicing through the dark. Human interceptors joined the pursuit, firing on both Evelyn and her pursuers. Explosions lit the clouds as 3 factions collided in deadly chaos. Through it all, the boy sat still, eyes glowing brighter with each passing moment, as though drawing energy from the storm itself. Evelyn risked a glance at him, whispering, "What are you?" His answer was barely audible over the screaming engines. The beginning. And somewhere, deep below the surface of Earth, something ancient answered his call. Storms raged across the horizon as Evelyn guided the battered transport toward a jagged coastline few dared to approach. Black cliffs rose like broken teeth from the ocean, and waves struck them with bone-crushing force, spraying mist high into the night air. She gripped the controls tightly, every muscle tense, but the boy's calm voice whispered coordinates in her ear, guiding her through the turbulence with unnerving certainty. The alien ships still hunted them, though their pursuit had slowed. They were no longer attacking, only circling, observing, like predators waiting for prey to exhaust itself. Military interceptors had fallen back entirely, most likely recalled to regroup. Evelyn felt the weight of being caught between 2 forces, neither of which she could trust. The transport finally landed on a precarious plateau carved into the rock. Winds howled, rain lashed down, and lightning illuminated a colossal stone archway half buried beneath layers of moss and sediment. It didn't belong here. Its surface was etched with shifting patterns that glowed faintly as the boy stepped forward, his small feet splashing in pools of rainwater. "Where are we?" Evelyn asked, voice trembling. "Not where," the boy replied, staring at the monolith. "When?" Evelyn blinked. "What does that mean?" The boy raised his hand, and the patterns on the archway flared brighter, pulsing with the same rhythm as his glowing eyes. The air shimmered, vibrating with energy, and then a deep hum rolled outward like a heartbeat waking after a long sleep. The ground shook, sending loose stones tumbling into the dark ocean below. Behind them, engines screamed. Alien ships closed in, beams of light cutting through the storm. Evelyn spun, ready to run, but the boy shook his head. "They won't cross," he said. "They're afraid." The lead alien craft hovered at the cliff's edge, its hunters standing inside its open hatch, weapons drawn but unmoving. They didn't fire. They didn't advance. They only watched. One tilted its head slightly, almost like a bow of acknowledgement or warning. Then the stone archway flared with a brilliance so intense Evelyn shielded her eyes. The storm fell silent, rain suspended midair, lightning frozen like cracks in glass. And then light collapsed inward, forming a window into another place. Not another world. Not exactly. But a vault of impossible scale, filled with floating structures and luminous spheres, as though time itself had been sculpted into architecture. "This is," Evelyn whispered. "The archive," the boy finished, stepping toward the portal. "A memory. A promise. And a judgment." Reluctantly, Evelyn followed. Passing through the threshold felt like walking through liquid sunlight. On the other side, gravity softened, air smelled faintly metallic, and the silence pressed like velvet against her skin. Holographic constellations swirled above, rearranging into patterns she didn't recognize. Then images appeared, echoes of an ancient past. She saw humans not as explorers, but as guests of another civilization. Agreements were made in alien halls, handshakes between species, treaties carved into light. Earth had once been part of something greater. But then images shifted. War. Betrayal. Something precious stolen. Promises broken. Humanity cast out. Evelyn staggered back, shaking her head. This can't be real. It's history, the boy said softly. Your history. My burden. One final image filled the chamber, a crystalline cradle, suspended above a luminous pool. Inside, a child, this child, was placed gently by hands that shimmered between alien and human forms. Evelyn turned to him, voice cracking. Who put you there? My makers, he answered, gaze fixed on the cradle. They are gone now. But they left me to decide. Decide what? Whether humanity remembers who they were, or is erased for what they became. Evelyn felt her breath catch. You're saying, you decide if we live or die? The boy's glowing eyes softened, not cruel, not angry, but unbearably sad. Not just live or die. Whether you rise, or fall forever. The chamber trembled again. The portal behind them rippled, and shadows moved at its edge. The hunters. They had followed, but would not step through. Evelyn swallowed hard, stepping closer to the boy. Then tell me, what do you see? What do you choose? Before he could answer, the archive pulsed with a final vision, not of the past, but the future. Earth under alien banners. Cities turned to ash. Or shining towers reaching to the stars, shared between species. Two paths. One decision. The boy looked up at Evelyn, voice barely more than a whisper. I need your help to choose. Rain fell like liquid glass over the plateau as the portal trembled, pulsing with an energy that resonated through the bones of the earth itself. Evelyn stood beside the boy, no longer just a child in her eyes, but something infinitely more complex. Behind them, the alien hunters waited like statues, silent yet ready to strike. Above, human warships hovered at the edge of the storm, their weapons primed, unaware of what lay beyond the stone archway. Inside the archive, the visions continued to spiral, histories rewritten in light, possibilities branching like rivers of stars. Evelyn felt the crushing weight of what had been revealed. Humanity had once stood as equals with ancient civilizations, entrusted with a promise. But that promise had been broken, buried in myth and forgotten by time. Now judgment had come not by an alien tribunal, but by the small figure who looked up at her with eyes that held the glow of two worlds. They are waiting for my decision, the boy said, his voice calm but hollow. The hunters will not attack unless I choose against you. The humans will not retreat unless they know why they must. But there can only be one path forward. Evelyn knelt beside him, placing a trembling hand on his shoulder. What do you see when you look at us? She asked. Do you see the worst of us or the best? The boy's gaze shifted to the holographic constellations. Images appeared: wars, greed, betrayal, but also moments of sacrifice, compassion, and wonder. Human explorers venturing into hostile worlds. Soldiers giving their lives for peace. Scientists reaching beyond fear to learn. Parents holding children in the dark of space. I see both, he whispered. But one must outweigh the other. Suddenly, the portal rippled violently. A transmission broke through, an alien voice, deep and resonant, echoing across the chamber. Child of the Covenant, it said. The time of decision has come. Do they deserve to ascend, or fall? Before Evelyn could speak, a human voice crackled through her comlink, Commander Reeve, leader of the military fleet. Evelyn, what's happening in there? Our sensors are off the charts. If you don't respond, we'll fire. We can't risk them breaching Earth. The boy turned to her. They don't understand, he said softly. Then help me make them understand, Evelyn replied, gripping his hand. Show them what we saw. Show them what's at stake. The boy stepped forward, placing his palm on the archive's crystalline pedestal. Light surged outward in all directions, piercing the storm, touching every human ship, every alien craft. Images from the archive, humanity's ancient past, their forgotten promise, their two possible futures, flashed before every mind. Gasps of shock echoed over the comms. The alien hunters bowed their heads. The warships powered down their weapons. But the final choice still hung in the air. The boy's voice rose, carrying across the storm, clear and resonant. Humanity is not yet ready, but they are not yet lost. I choose hope. The archive erupted with golden light, spilling across the horizon, stabilizing the portal and repairing cracks in its ancient structure. The alien ships withdrew, vanishing into streaks of light, leaving only the silence of rain and the hum of the awakened monument. Evelyn exhaled slowly, feeling the weight lift from her chest. "What happens now?" she asked. The boy turned to her with a faint smile, one that seemed older than time itself. "Now, we begin again." And with that, the portal shifted, no longer a gateway of judgment, but an open door to a future where humans and alien kin might stand together once more. Yet, somewhere in the vast dark, forces watched, displeased with the decision made. Judgment had been spared, but war might still come.